Okay, that's fine. And the pool.
For sure.
Okay, yeah. I thought I could do it. Yeah, they started building. So I was gonna ask you, should I or just do it?
I would just.
Okay.
Yeah, because anyone. Certainly.
Supposed to be family reunions for them. But we have to run it.
Now let's. I'll make
Yeah.
sure that.
Yeah. Oh, are you one of the other people who just like? Great.
I'm sorry. Are you related to the lake?
My great grandfather was.
I come from the water.
My great grandfather's brothers had orchards on the lake, but he was the artist. So we're the communion.
Awesome. My children, my in-laws owned a place on Goshen, and my children kind of grew up there and met some of their best friends there who would come up from Illinois as well. And they've never forgiven my in-laws for when we sold it. You know? Beautiful sunset.
I've never even been swimming in it.
Oh gosh, it's so clean. It's
Great fast.
Oh.
When the lake was cold as kids, we'd go over there because it was always warmer.
Yep.
And they had big slides. I don't know if they still have.
No,
it.
I don't think they do because I think they ended
The beach, yeah.
the thing, what do you call it, public access.
Yeah.
So,
but we used to go over there, and it
yeah,
was always warmer.
Yes.
That or the old harbor. The old harbor was warmer too.
Yes.
Always warmer. The old harbor?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, hidden back behind the.
It was the original entrance from the Kalamazoo into. From the lake into the Kalamazoo.
Yeah, so
but they moved it north, or wherever, south, north, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they left this
Oxbow
harbor.
Lake.
Oxbow, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's warmer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't get there either.
Well, yeah, that's part of, that's part of the park now.
No, it's the Dean family.
Oh, really?
I believe so.
I think part of it.
Somebody's too tall.
Yeah.
I think part of the Natural Harbor area is up to that, I think. Now, on the other side, I know is Dean property. Pretty cool, huh?
Well, it'd be interesting to find out.
Is this my original?
You know, as a kid, we used to watch through the
That would have been.
Presbyterian camp and the town.
Well, I grew up on Van Dalton, so I used to we'd run up the side of Mount Malden down the other side.
Yeah.
Can you still do that?
Yeah. That's all Camp Gray,
Yep.
Presbyterian camps, yeah. Well, I don't know if it's all Camp Gray, but some of them was sold off. But that part is, we call it the Preacher's Path, at least, yeah.
I've heard that.
You go straight across, or you can go up the side of Mount Baldhead and then down, John's Flag it's called, you go down the beach, or you just take a path straight across. The other way is go up to the water tower and go up the ridge and over that way.
Yeah, keeping warm?
You have the first treat, you have.
Yeah, exactly. Well.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I was stoking my insert in my fireplace, which you get to heat up the pancakes on it, and stay on the log periodically. So I was one of those good people that turned my heat way down when consumers asked everybody to turn the shows. I had my insert.
I know, and how sweet. I love the pose. Snowy.
How did it do?
It did really well. I was very impressed.
He is, isn't he?
My bedroom got quite chilly, but, you know, because I closed everything off from my hallway and the kitchen, dining room, living room. Yeah, you got kind of space. I told the dog to bed and I
the
hair.
Oh, no, not down,
And
no.
no hair on their feet, so they go up.
Well,
Like, do I have?
probably even months after he comes home. He'll be in the hospital for a month, and then, yeah, and then he'll,
Okay.
So I usually
well,
start the fire with.
I didn't even ask that.
I get it going.
Oh, but, Butterworth.
Some people
Oh,
really
yeah.
don't.
I'm gonna stay up there.
Yeah, is there?
Yeah, I could stay right in this room.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
there, I stayed this
And you don't really need
a lot,
that,
just around the
because
house.
if you've got a
And
friend
then,
to back up.
but I think for now, I'm just gonna stay in the room, there's a bed that comes down, and it's state of the art, I mean,
You're right, the way.
the equipment.
You know, once you're something,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm only gonna do it when they do the actual transplant
Right.
in a few days. Cause I gotta go, no, this is, they start out with real heavy duty chemo, so they actually kill everything. And then they, and then they.
No,
put
there really
the
wasn't,
cells,
except,
and
you know, we
hopefully
were all
they
at
take
the
it
house
and they
now,
don't get rejected. and-
Everybody was canceling everything, so
No,
I'm like,
not
here's
till
I'll
the
bake, make some
after the
soup,
chemo.
go,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
clean out some
So
spots,
it's gotta make it,
you know, so,
you know,
yeah.
and then hopefully.
Well, you know what, though, you-
No, but I'm leaving,
so much more about it.
Oh, I know.
So,
It's
yeah,
so
once
coming
you're
through.
treated,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
like,
you know,
yeah.
I know,
Right.
You know, it's not like you don't have time.
Right. I mean, it's always better every single time, you know, so. I know. It's like, I am.
You're right.
I am, yeah, I'm trying.
Okay, shoot,
That's okay.
nothing big on the agenda?
I'm gonna.
No, you know,
Yeah, I missed that.
we're lucky we have this near us.
Yeah.
I mean, cause it used to be, you have to go to Ann Arbor, so.
I don't know what happened. Yeah, you'll explain it. Okay.
This is years.
You mean a transplant?
Yeah, there was only certain place they did.
Yeah.
So you are lucky.
Yeah, and the VA would have made us go down to Tennessee, so pick Medicare, so.
Yeah.
They would.
That's good to get this VA.
Well, we got both going on. They don't, you know,
VA
that's
does a
one
lot.
thing. Yes, they do.
I mean,
Oh,
I
they,
think that's,
and I'll tell you, American Cancer Society, oh yeah, I mean, they do so much for us. I mean, they pay for all his chemo medicine and, you know, staying in this place.
Right.
Well, knowing that it's bad news. Just throwing them together. Because I was just telling somebody the other day, yeah, we're putting this bike trailer in and it'll be nice for kids, and their son, you know, you gotta get across Blue Star, you know, really nice.
Oh, no, it's there.
Don't know when it's gonna happen to finish it, but, you know, you'll be able to go from Holland, or to Holland.
Weather doesn't check out great.
One of those things, you know, where you wave at someone and they wave back and you realize it wasn't a
Why wonder the winter's such friendly?
Yeah. But she was,
But I'm gonna ask her to write something. Yeah. That I can do.
That's very rare, yeah. So, just having people write in it.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Getting out of it, she does that.
because I remember reading in the paper, I
She and her
saw
mom and her aunt,
they were gonna go
it
down.
was very cool, and then one of her,
and then,
helpers,
Okay.
are going kind of a less disciplined thing.
Right.
She's thrilled, they're thrilled.
Yeah, that's.
Her aunt, her other aunt, one of her other aunts.
Uh-huh.
I'm the best aunt,
Right.
but her other.
Okay, everybody, thank you for, joining us this evening, it's the Wednesday, February sixth, 2019, at 6 o'clock, and this is the regular, board meeting for the Saugatuck Township Board. I'll call the meeting to order, and note, as far as roll call, all board members are present with the exception of the vacant trustee position. Everybody could please stand and join me on the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start out with, public comments, and right from the first row, second row. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
I can do that. I have a prepared statement here. It's only 250 words, so it should only take a moment. My name is Elliot Sturm. I live at 2579 62nd Street, Saugatuck Township, and I'd like to briefly address recent allegations made by Roy Mathlewood concerning my company's installation of security cameras here in this building, in this meeting hall. He stated in a letter to the Commercial Record that the hiring process was shoddy, and there was some kind of Chicago-style quid pro quo going on because my wife, Kathy, was part of the recent recall election. In fact, 2 other firms were given the chance and did provide bids for the job. My bid was at least $1,000 less than the next highest bid. My company was vetted and given positive reviews by existing clients of mine. And I don't require a monthly maintenance fee for the equipment, unlike the other companies that did. These are the reasons I was hired to install the cameras, not because my wife was involved in the recall campaign. Mr. McElwain's allegations were published without any apparent due diligence. A simple phone call would have quickly dispelled the idea that my company, Secure and Safe, was somehow the only bidder on this job. I've been in business in Saugatuck for 12 years, providing security systems for homes and businesses large and small. Companies in small towns live and die by their reputations, and I certainly hope mine hasn't been damaged by these incorrect allegations. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else from that row? Next row. Last row. There being no more public comments, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or removal of items? I would like to add what we got in late. Unfortunately, we got a letter for correspondence, and I had our attorney respond to that, so that has been submitted and will be entered into the record tonight as well, the response from Ron Bolche. Other than that, any other additions, changes?
What's the letter regarding?
Pardon me?
What is it regarding?
Do you have a copy in front of you? And it was emailed.
Oh, okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. There being none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. The motion? I'll move to adopt the agenda as amended. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Move on to invoices, accounts payable invoices, whatnot. We do have, in addition to that, in addition to what has been submitted in the board packet, there's some additional bills received after that was developed and vouchered. So the total bills as of February 6, 2019 are $100,250.96. Do you have a motion to accept these?
I move that we accept the accounts payable as presented.
Any second?
I'll second that.
Motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Trying to remember, do we have to? Accounts payable. Do we have to? Oh, I can't remember. Do we do the check register also? I think that was included in there.
Yes, that's included.
Okay. So now we're moving on. I'm sorry to treasurer's report.
Thank you. A couple of months ago, we talked about doing a monthly report on how we're doing in terms of budget versus what was actually spent and received. You have a copy of a year-to-date report. This has been provided now twice, mainly to familiarize members of the board with this document so they can ask questions if they have any. I think moving forward, we don't need to put this detail in every month. My intention is simply to say how we're doing overall. What's the bottom line look like? And We are 7 months into this fiscal year. Total expenses are running under budget, as is total revenue year to date. But an update on that, February tax revenues will address that underage. In fact, this week alone, I've deposited about $400,000 into our bank tax account. And more of those will be coming in because our deadline is next Thursday. Disbursements, which again, to remind you, these are the payments we make twice a month to our partner revenue tax sharing entities, such as the library, the interurban, the school districts. When I started in this position, we were actually behind on doing this, and we have completely caught up. But I also learned in reviewing my job descriptions from the MTA that the disbursements are also supposed to be voted on the same way payroll and checks are. That's why you will see a page, let's see, I don't know how to tell you, it's further into the document.
At the end.
Did you find it?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, it actually starts on the left page, just before the minutes. And these are the disbursements I want to make this week to these various entities. I don't know if you have any questions. Those are the amounts we owe them. I'll point out in the bottom half of the page, there are 3 payments we actually make back to our bank account for township operation, roads and cemetery. And towards the bottom, there's an administration fee that we also pay twice a month back to Saugatuck Township. So I will be including this summary at our monthly meetings. Similarly to the sheet we just looked at with some bills that were due before we got to meet, I've got to sort out how to report on the 2 payments per month. I think there might be a way that I can do an estimate calculation, but we'll address that moving forward.
Great. We'll move now on to minutes, approval of the minutes. Let's start out with January.
Investment update.
Oh.
That's all right. The treasurer is also required to report quarterly to the board on the state of any investments we have. And I don't think this has been done in the past, but I intend to start doing it with today's report. Township only has one investment product, and that's a certificate of deposit with Chemical Bank. The amount in that account as of January 31st was $739,000. It increased by $1.3 thousand from the value December 31st. So I will be keeping my eye on that and reporting quarterly to you. I also been reviewing, we do have pretty thorough investment policy for the township. So I will be sharing this with Natalie, and we can have discussions perhaps moving forward in terms of, do we want to do anything more actively or not? And like I said, that will come down the road, but there are 9, I think, approved investment streams in the policy. We're only using one of them, and that's the certificate of deposit. So again, this is something that we can discuss moving forward. Okay, and then our disbursements update, I think I pretty much covered it, but that's the twice monthly payouts. You've got this report for this week, and as I said, I'm exploring how to factor in the second payment to share with the board moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. Approval of the minutes from January 2nd. We'll start with that. I would move, well, is there any changes anyone wants to make before we move to adopt? That way we don't have to do it twice. I did not see any that I needed. Well, there is, that's small. Township manager instead of manage. Very small, but I think that's, we'll leave that as is. So I would move to adopt, that's for the 16th, sorry, adopt the minutes of January 2nd, 2019. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Move on to the minutes of January 8th, special meeting. Are there any changes that you have?
I wrote them, so
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna, I've edited them. If I was gonna find my errors, I would have found them by now.
Yeah.
I move we accept the minutes of the special board meeting of January 8th.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Oh, no. Oh, now we're discussing. No.
There being none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Now we move on to the minutes of January 14th, special meeting. I would move to accept the minutes as submitted. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. And finally, the minutes of January 23rd special meeting. Are there any changes anybody wants to make to those? If not, I'll put a motion on the table to adopt the minutes as submitted. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor state by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. We move on to item 8, correspondence. We received this Monday, so it was a little bit late, but I guess they asked to have this read into the record, so I'll do so. This is to the Township Board of Trustees. It was dated January 29th. The first time I saw it was Monday. As regarding North Shores development, basically it's from the attorney for Saugatuck Township Fire District, Jeff Sluggett, and he states he's asked by his client, the Township Fire District, to send this letter to Saugatuck Township, specifically the Saugatuck Township Fire District. The township understands that the township has determined not to require the community of storage buildings for the caption development to be sprinkled. The STFD recognizes that the township has the right to make such a determination, but it also believes the township could impose such a requirement if it desired to do so. Nothing in Section 2C of the consent judgment precludes such a requirement from being imposed. In fact, because only one means of access to development is to be provided, the consent judgment expressly reserves to the township the right to impose reasonable alternative safety measures and identify sprinkling of non-residential buildings as one such example. Accordingly, the Saugatuck Township Fire District has asked that we send this letter as a matter of public record indicating the STFD's position that not requiring such sprinkling is a mistake that could potentially adversely impact residents and firefighters given a combination of factors at this development, including large square foot residential structures, large scale development, lightweight construction, high heat fuel loads, one access road in place of the two normally required for such developments, no pressurized fire protection water supply, and a long hose laid due to a single water source site. Finally, it merits to mention that the proceeding in this manner may have an adverse impact on the insurance premiums within the North Shores development. He thanks us for our attention in this matter, and we ask that this be included on the agenda, in the agenda packet for the next scheduled meeting of the Township Board and formally received in the public record at that time. So as we should do to be good about making sure we're doing the right thing, I did ask Ron Volchi to review this letter and tell us what he thinks we should do, and he states the following. Chris, per your request, this email will respond to the letter received by the Saugatuck Township Board regarding the North Shores development, specifically regarding the decision of the township staff not to require sprinkling fire suppression systems to be installed in the community and storage buildings included in that development. That letter was written by Mr. Jeff Sluggett in his capacity as attorney for the Saugatuck Township Fire District. In his letter, Mr. Sluggett acknowledges that the township has a right not to require sprinklers to be installed in the buildings. Therefore, there is no allegation that this decision by township staff is invalid, without authority, or procedurally defective. Rather, the decision is simply one that the fire district wishes would reach a different conclusion. The consent judgment entered into the federal district court by the township with the prior developers of the development notes in Section 2C that the township is permanently enjoined from requiring under Section 40-658E of the township's zoning ordinance two means of access to the developer's property from an adjacent public street. Section 2C does indeed allow, as Mr. Sluggett points out, the township to reasonably impose alternative safety requirements on the development. Those reasonable safety requirements include the use of sprinkler systems in non-residential buildings, which I assume include the buildings in question. He goes on to say, however, Section 2A of the consent judgment contains another limitation upon the township. Section 2A permanently enjoins the township from treating the property in this development differently from similarly situated property without a rational basis for doing so. From discussions with the township staff, my understanding is that the township has not in the past not required similarly situated non-residential buildings to be sprinkled. Further, in discussions with township staff, my understanding is that no rational basis has been identified by staff to treat the non-residential buildings in this development differently than the township has treated non-residential buildings in other developments. Therefore, staff concluded that it would not be reasonable for the township to require sprinkling of these buildings in the development. On the basis of my understandings, I concur with the staff's judgments and conclusions. In fact, for the township to do otherwise, to require sprinkling for these buildings in the development, when the township has not historically required that of similarly situated buildings elsewhere in the township, would at least give the developer the option of claiming that the township has engaged in an equal protection violation against the developer and that the township has violated the consent judgment. Closes by advising if it raises additional questions or comments to advise it. So those two will be entered into the record. We'll move on to item 9, unfinished business. This is the master meter resolution. I unknowingly, and it's my fault, had made some modifications to the last resolution we presented, not knowing that it was the intent of the Cal Lake attorney to have all 3 municipalities adopt the identical resolution, and there's a rationale for that, which I won't go into. The city of Saugatuck approved their resolution, the same one we are asked to approve tonight. The village of Douglas did that last night, will be the third. Upon adopting this resolution, if we choose to do so, I would ask our clerk to sign it and bring it tomorrow morning if needed. And then there's one last step, and that is if the Cal Lake Board has to agree to move forward with the project. That's kind of like the safety valve. So if one of us had not done this, that's how they protect the Cal Lake. So it's my recommendation that we adopt the resolution as submitted from the Cal Lake attorney, and we'll have to take a roll call vote to do that. So I would move to adopt the resolution to approve participation in and cost sharing for a master meter project. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I just have one question, because I know this was an issue when we discussed this earlier. In number 1C, the matter of the prorated share of contingency.
Yes.
But I think the answer is all 3 communities have agreed to the contingency.
To their contingency. So this prorated, this is just for our portion of the project. We would not be responsible for any of the other meter projects, just ours. And that is correct. They have agreed to the same thing. Everybody's agreed to that.
Do you know offhand how the other 2 communities' contingency compares?
It was a state percentage. Daryl, I think, want to real quick to answer that.
Sorry.
It's based on a percentage of each.
Daryl, Kalamazoo Lake Sewer Water Authority manager. Yeah, the resolutions all have the same 10% contingency across the board. It's going to be pursuant to their portion of the project. If you see the Lisa Vanderbrink Construction Management letter dated January 8th, the scope. Meter 3 is the meter for Saugatuck Township of $116,807. 10% of that would be the contingency. If we don't believe that there will be anything that would come across into that additional 10%, but if it's protect Cal Lake. But all 4 entities would have that same 10%.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion needed? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Roring?
Yes.
Shakespeare, yes. Hummert?
Yes.
Do you need a copy for tomorrow, or?
No.
Okay, we'll just get it when it's ready. Lori thought maybe you needed it. Okay. Motion carried. Let's move on to,
The resolution or?
what's that? I'm sorry, the resolution passed. Yeah, motion carried, resolution passed. Let's move on to permit report. Al Ellingson had provided us with a Kind of a summary of permits, for the year 2018, 107 permits issued with a valuation of $14,271,16. We collected fees of $47,458, and our direct cost was $18,690. So, it still is beneficial for us financially to engage in the permitting process, from the township versus outsourcing, and it still, provides really great customer service. Our builders, who are a lot of whom are township residents, appreciate coming in and working with our staff. Any questions on this? If not, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and I'd like to introduce Natalie Dean, our new manager and zoning administrator, and I told her I would make her have to do a speech, but Natalie, we want a speech.
Actually, just told me yesterday at the time. Anyway, I'm in the third day of this job, and I feel really lucky to be here. I'm having a really good time. I love everyone in the office, and I've told several people that my head is sort of exploding from all the information. And it'll be that way for a while, but I feel like I'm already getting a grip and an understanding, and I'm enjoying meeting people, and I've had phone calls and people stop in, and this is just a really friendly, special community, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
Welcome aboard. Welcome, Natalie. Let's move on to item 11, committee reports, starting with the Planning Commission.
You probably all recall that the January Planning Commission meeting was canceled due to very inclement weather that night. Andy Preach, the PC chair, there was a very full agenda for that night. So he made the decision to do 2 Planning Commission meetings in February. The first one is next Monday, February 11th. The items will be the Big B Coffee proposal near to spectators. Further discussion from the citizens group as well as the commission on the sand mining operation on Old Allegan Road. And third, a request from a potential buyer of property also out Old Allegan Road near Lorimar Lane to develop a, quote, luxury RV park. That'll all be on Monday. Then on Monday the 25th, the only agenda item will be the public hearing and further discussion of the potential ordinances for the 3 types of medical marijuana business. It's a big month for the PC.
Thank you. Road Commission?
No new news on roads, but I just wanted to follow up on, the ongoing constituent concern regarding the safety at the intersections of Blue Star Highway and Old Allegan Road and 65th Street, 135th Avenue in Blue Star. I contacted Jason Edwards, the county highway engineer, and requested a crash summary for those intersections. He advised the following. I have an email from him. At the intersection of Old Allegan Road, there were 10 crashes over 10 years. That's 1 per year average. The type of crashes are really not specific to a direction or crash type. The number of crashes is also very similar to other intersections like 134th Avenue, Washington Avenue, 64th Street. Blue Star Highway averages 10,000 cars a day in the summer, so this is a relatively low crash rate for this volume of traffic. There is some brush and dead trees that we may be able to remove to add some sight distance and see if that helps. Regarding 65th Street and 135th Avenue, there were 15 crashes over 10 years. That's 1.5 per year average. This is a little higher than other intersections, and a lot of them are rear-end related on Blue Star Highway. When we can pinpoint crash patterns and see more severe crashes, then we have a higher chance of receiving federal safety funds for a project. Turn lanes or alignment changes could be beneficial here, but we should probably weigh options with the adjacent property owners. So I just wanted to report on that it probably warrants some additional research, but the perceived safety issue may not be matching, you know, the actual, serious accidents that are happening there, or warranting, you know, further federal money to help out with those projects. So I just wanted to, just report on the crash study. Any questions?
Great. Thank you. Interurban, I have a report from Lori to read. What is it? Where did she put that? January Interurban Transit Report. December ridership count is up 10 passengers over the last year. The dispatch software has arrived. Parking lot coating and striping will be scheduled for the spring. 2 new buses for the fiscal year 18 grant have been ordered and should be delivered in March of 2019. For fiscal year 19, we were approved for a new administrative vehicle and 2 buses using alternative fuels, which should arrive around sometime in 2020. And the board approved the fiscal year 2020 annual grant application. Fire board.
Okay, January was a relatively quiet month until the freezing conditions set in, which resulted in hazardous roads, ruptured fire sprinkler systems, burst plumbing, and fire alarm activations. They did exceed the lowest number on record, 47 from 2016, and ended up at 52, 50% lower than 2018. However, please remember that 2016, even though it started slow, ended up with a record number of calls. There were several, I don't know if you guys saw these, but I thought they were kind of interesting graphs or data collection, and showed different response times by the month and incidents for days of the week, and it looks like Tuesday's the day to have an incident, which is odd. Isn't that odd?
If it's Tuesday, it must be a crash.
Yeah, and then also they put a new graph out about what time of day the accident tends to happen. So stay off the roads at noon.
And don't come home from work.
Tuesday.
And then cocktail hour, happy hour is bad, yeah. But these are just kind of interesting things I thought you guys should take a look at. I did call Chief Janik today about these 2 letters from the attorneys, and he was suggested that we could possibly have a workshop with the fire department officers as a board, because it's so hard to talk about all these these things
Special
from the,
meeting, right?
yeah, special meeting from North Shore, and wondered if possibly we could do that. They want to do like a question and answer type thing. Maybe it's time we do that, sit down and talk about some of these issues that have come up. So that's about it for my fire report. If you would think that might be something we would want to do.
We can schedule it. It sounds like a tough meeting to schedule, but we'll see.
Okay. Well,
if everybody could make it.
I would support that. I think it's very important to get those lines of communication open and try to find some common ground.
So we'll have to look for a time, and sometime in the future, where we could get everybody together to do that.
okay. I'll work.
Parks Commission, Jim? I don't know if that's on either. See, make sure the microphone's on.
I'll speak up.
Is that microphone on?
Is that, okay. I'm not sure where the button.
It's on, Jim.
Hold it close.
Just be very close to it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. This is not what I expected to talk to you folks about. I expected to talk about the little handout that I gave you about the Blue Star Trail, and hoping to get you folks to vote on the resolution for the MDOT grant, and then discuss the DNR grant and the vote in January. However, I feel like because of what happened, and you folks are all new, I should take a few minutes and go back and talk about what the Blue Star Trail group has tried to do, and the effort they've put forth,
how they've been frustrated. They've been working on this for 10 years. And what they have to show for their effort is the one section in Saugatuck Township. If you looked at the maps, the original plan was to start the trail down in Casco, come north through Ganges, and then into Saugatuck and through Douglas and Saugatuck Township and connect with the Lake Town Trail. Because of a number of problems, which I won't go into right now, but they haven't made a lot of progress. The part of the problem is, in order to get the funds, and these projects are expensive, they have to get, MDOT has a TAP grant program. TAP stands for Transportation Alternative Programs, basically bike trails. And then they have a DNR grant. So they have to apply to two different parts of the state government for the grants. They have different application schedules, different requirements, and so forth. The MDOT grant requires a heavier construction, a wider trail, and so forth. It's more expensive. We really can't go ahead without the MDOT grant. But the thing that the MDOT grant also requires is connectivity. And connectivity means, just like when you build a highway, you have a plan, you build it in sections, but you don't get one section built and say, where will we go next? Stand around and decide. They want the folks to come up with a plan, a general plan. They're not committed to the exact route, but they want them to vote to support the idea of connectivity. If they don't, they won't issue the grant. So we've been struggling with the city of Saugatuck. For this first section that we built along Old Allegan Road, there was an agreement with the city of Saugatuck to come up with an interim route. And you may have seen the Route 35 signs that routed folks down Lake Street, down into town, through town, and then connected to the trail, our trail, the township trail, on Holland Street. That satisfied MDOT to get the grants to build that section of the trail, which we did. After that was done, the city withdrew their support for that interim route. When we got ready to build the next section, the North Street section, to go down North Street and connect with Holland Street, the city would not vote to approve another option we had given them. On the corner of Allegan Road and Old Allegan Road and Blue Star is a Christian Reformed church. They're supportive of the trail. In fact, they volunteered to let us use their parking lot. They've got a large parking lot as a trailhead. They had plans to build a shelter there that the folks could have picnics there or whatever. We had worked out with them that we, the township, would pay approximately $20,000 to build a sidewalk on what would have been the south side of Old Allegan Road down to Maple Street. Maple Street is the boundary between the township, and Maple Street is where the city sidewalk begins. So it would have given them a route down Old Allegan Road to Lake Street and then out Lake Street to Blue Star. A logical route. They were concerned that the reason they decided they didn't want to continue with Route 35, they felt like it brought too many folks into town, too many bicycle folks. Now, you probably remember there were letters that supported that idea because those folks were going to stop and have coffee, they'd see the shops, they'd spend money in town. So, but then they decided, no, that's not a good idea. Anyway, we proposed that, they never voted on that. And that's why the Blue Star Trail folks, in the beginning of 2018, withdrew their grant. They had originally submitted a grant, the township board had voted to support it, and it was an MDOT and a DNR grant that would have built the trail down North Street. When they wouldn't vote on that, the Blue Star Trail Group withdrew the application. Then they requested that the city, the Blue Star Trail Group using the city engineer. The Blue Star Trail group has their own engineer who have designed all the trail that's been proposed. The only one that's been built, of course, is the one on Old Allegan, or down from Old Allegan Road to North Street. And they requested the Blue Star Trail Committee group spend up to $25,000 to pay the city engineers to design a route from the bridge up to Maple Street, which is only a little more than 900 feet that the city is responsible for. They, over the starting last year, and some of you folks attended a few of those meetings, they first proposed the west side to connect to the Douglas Trail, come up the west side of the Blue Star, and several options to cross Lake Street. I know Lake Street is busy, but I'm sure you folks have been to some pretty big cities with much more complicated intersections than Lake Street, and bike trails are built there. It's not an insurmountable problem. However, no matter what plan they came up with, they had additional questions, and they came up with an idea to put it on the east side. So they went back, the engineers went back and came up with a route on the east side. The cost of these things are unbelievable, because if you look at Blue Star, as you come across the bridge, that was all built with fill. So the road drops off quickly. They would have to have built significant abutment or embankment to widen the road. The cost ran from $1 million estimate on the west side to over $2 million on the east side, 900 feet. Anyway, now I'm gonna, so we had a final meeting about a week and a half ago, and I'm gonna quote a few things that were said. John was there, and I'd like to have it be relatively accurate. So if I say something or misquote someone, please correct me.
No, Scott will do that for you.
Yeah, right.
Give it to me in paper.
Really easy. You weren't there. Anyway, the discussion began, and as they went around the table, it became evident that there was not enough support. The only council member that voiced support for this, one of the plans, was Jeff Spangler. So after everyone went around and brought up, even one suggestion was to build like a mock-up on the bridge of what the railing would look like, because there was some concern that folks driving across the bridge, if they looked out into the harbor, it would block their view. So, and they couldn't visualize that based on the architectural or engineering drawings. So they said, well, let's wait till spring and build a mock-up on the bridge. Anyway, after everyone said we can't support it, Jeff turned to him and said, I am really disappointed in you folks. You have led the Blue Star Trail folks along. You have spent their money, and you had no intention of ever approving this route. Was that more or less what he said?
He said he was shocked by his
He was
comments.
shocked, yes, you could have that. And the Blue Star Trail folks who have put in all this effort, all this money, spent at least $25,000 on these plans, were really taken aback. They really believed that they would get a positive sort of support of the trail, or at least one of these proposals. And that's why we had come up with the grant application on that expectation. So what happened is, this original idea or interim plan down Old Allegan Road, that was brought up. After Jeff spoke, they appeared to say, well, maybe we could buy into that idea. Kirk Harrier said, I will write a resolution that you can vote on in your February 11th meeting. That would satisfy the MDOT requirement. So that's when I wrote that we got that letter and we gave you folks and told you what our expectation would be. On Monday afternoon, we had scheduled a meeting on Tuesday. Monday afternoon, Kurt got a hold of John Adams, who's the president of the Blue Star Trail, and told him the deal's off. The board decided they can't support that interim route. The end result was we had to withdraw, or they will withdraw their application for the grants. The North Street section of the trail will not get built. And this was going to be, originally it was going to be built this year, so now we were going to be off till next year. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Those folks are going to go back to the drawing board and try and decide where to go next. And it's really a big disappointment when you think about the amount of effort and the fact that the township stepped up. The first ones were Ganji, Casco. Douglas has supported this whole idea, and we know they took a lot of heat about what they did. Maybe it wasn't the greatest design, but they did it, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. So that's where we are. The reason I'm spending a little bit of time on this is I don't think you folks are going to hear much about the Blue Star Trail for a while.
When you say the deal's off, I thought it was off, but they hadn't voted, only Jeff Spangler, but now it's just totally off completely, right? Is that what you're saying?
It's off until the city of Saugatuck comes up with can agree, and I don't know whether it has to be someday in the future when there's a new board. These folks just do not want a trail. They do not want to change Lake Street. They do not want to mess with the city of Saugatuck sign. They just have an endless number of concerns. The engineers tried to address all of them, and these are their engineers. They weren't even the Blue Star Trail folks' engineers, but they weren't satisfied. And it's a little frustrating, and I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I saw all the plans, there were several different ones.
$550,000 in investment was going to be made for that section through the Alamancher Park, what we call the south end of the cemetery. We were going to have, we had plans for a trailhead, some parking, and then if you go down, there's a little route down to the brook where the brook comes through. It's a little sandy area. It would be a great place for kids to play. It's shallow. It's an undeveloped park, and we could have done quite a bit. We can talk about some other ideas, but it would nowhere near the amount of money we could have got. So
the grant, we don't have to probably.
The grant, yeah, they withdrew the grant. And I can't anticipate anything dramatic happening in the next couple months that would allow. And they have another date in, I think it's in June, but that would push it out to 2021. So.
I think that what John expressed is they build momentum of their donors and supporters to come up with private money for this, and as things don't happen, they tend to lose interest and go elsewhere. And I think that his big concern is that their donor base will start to shrink.
There's a push to develop 3 east-west trails. One of them starting in South Haven, going to, I believe, Port Huron. So the state has, and you've probably heard of the Iron Bell Trail, from Bell Island up to Iron Mountain, I think, on the east side of the state. And there's several efforts to build trails along the west side of the state. And this obviously was going to connect South Haven up to Lake Town, and then on north to the Holland Trails and north up towards Grand Haven and so forth.
Actually, all the way up to Ludington, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's the goal eventually is to build trails. The thing that's so frustrating is, and I hate to get into this, but I've got 3 grandkids. And, you know, you read how the percentage of little kids that are overweight. If we go back and look at when we were in school, our pictures, and to look when I was in 5th and 6th and 7th grade, are there any fat kids in those classes? There aren't. But today, when we think of what our kids do, and this opportunity to create a recreational, you know, ride your bike. When we were kids, we all rode our bikes. We rode them wherever we wanted.
But now you can't let your kids just go out and ride bikes without a parent with them, and everything's working, and, you know, that's a lot of the problem too, you know.
And
Don't
like I
hear,
said,
get them out of your
kids,
sight.
But,
It's different, yeah.
at least they're active.
Right, yeah.
So, and that, you know, to me is sad. We're looking backward and not forward. You know, this whole deal, we spend too much on healthcare because we are sick too often and we take pills to fix whatever problem we have. Anyway, it's disappointing that this had to happen. And, if I hear any more, I'll let you know, and, hopefully you'll write some,
Anything written down, Jim? Write it down, that always helps. Hard to misquote if I just quote.
yeah, anyway, I think I wrote a few things that I wanted to cover. I think I got them all.
Well, can I sense your frustration? I hope that doesn't discourage you and the folks on our Parks Commission for doing the good work you do for us. We appreciate that.
It's just sad.
I know you put a lot of time and effort into that. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, open board report. Get you? We'll start out with Stacy. Anything?
Knock my glasses.
I was wondering about the trustee position, that, I mean, is this one we can discuss?
Yes, yes.
Okay, what are our plans? I know we've had some applications, or applicants, are we going to interview them all, or how's this?
Up till now, until I hear other words, we're following the township policy. So, the clerk has been receiving applications. In absence of a manager, I screened the first one. The second one I already knew, and Lori, I've interviewed her many times for position. And the third is going to be handled by our manager now that she's on board. Any others that come in, the manager will do a quick screen, just say, are you interested? Do you really want to do this? Do you know what's involved? Then we'll have a pool of people that we can recommend to have interviews with a team. And that can be, I recommend 2 of us, not 3 of us, because that would create a quorum. But just go through and meet with these people and just interview them. And out of that would come a recommendation for somebody who should fill the position. So I know Natalie is waiting to talk to the third applicant who you met, so now you know how to get a hold of her.
Should Natalie be doing that because it's potentially her boss in a way, or as a board member, I mean, shouldn't the board be interviewing all of them, or?
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay, and all the applicants will be.
The initial call is screening call. When I called the gentleman, I can't remember his name now, Joe Novikowski, I said, hey, you know, are you interested? Yeah, I'm interested. I just didn't want to run for it. You know, I'm interested. I'm a civil planner. I really like roads. I really like, you know, getting into fire issues, police issues, all this stuff, water, sewer. And I said, well, here's what you have to do. And he said, yeah, I'm still interested. So I said, I think we ought to interview him. The second is Lori, who I think we should interview because she has been on a number of our boards already. And the third is Brenda Marcy, who's been trying to hook up with Natalie, and Natalie will just say, hey, you know, if there's any others, I don't know when we went
When
off
did
this
we
process.
have a cutoff?
Well, we have to make a selection in 45 days of February 1st. So we still have some time to see if anyone else is interested.
I just hope we can get one by the next board.
That would be the good goal.
I just am a little worried about me not making a meeting.
I understand.
And
I think it's very reasonable to have a vote on this by the March meeting, which is March 6th.
All right, so that's our goal to have.
Yeah. So I would say we should cut off the application receipts in another week, and then the interview should not take long.
I mean, we posted it. We did everything we said we were going to do.
Okay.
We posted it, it's on Facebook, it's on the website. I don't think I'm the only one who's been talking to people that might be potentially interested. I had 2 people mull it over and decided, well, one of them said they would only apply if I felt they'd be appointed unanimously. Well, that's a hard, good answer.
Oh, that is.
I know a few, I'd go for that. Yeah.
It was awesome.
I just got all the other applicants to drop off before they appointed me. It's a Chicago trip.
John, did you get that?
I got it.
No, they
Give us the word.
They actually all dropped out on the night before the show. And I
Yeah,
said
they
this
did,
morning,
too.
this morning about our decision tonight.
I was gonna ask you about that, because I remember being at the
One.
board meeting here.
Everybody decided not to run.
No, but I mean, there were 4 applicants that presented themselves to the public and to the board.
Yeah.
We
went through an interview process.
No, but was this committee
All endorsed
process
and,
used
Yes.
for the supervisor?
Yeah, it was actually the manager and it was trustees and.
But it's not the supervisor, because he was the one who lead that.
That's correct.
I think Becky is real, too.
I know for me it was Roy and Aaron and Brad. So.
Okay, so here's my potential concern with this. So if we have you and another board member, and Natalie's doing the pre-screening, you guys would be doing the interviewing, how would the other 2 people have, I mean, it's only 3 applicants, and from what I can tell, they're all good applicants. So how can we sound in on that? I understand we can't all sit down in a private interview, because that would, violate Open Meetings Act.
You do it in 2 phases. You have 2 interviews.
But we did discuss last time having a special meeting.
Well, maybe if
similar
we
to
did
the
that with the fire
supervisor meeting,
department, maybe in the middle of it.
where we all
I mean,
hear,
is
they all
that-
present to all of us and public.
Yeah.
If there were 20, of course not, but if it turns out there's 5.
To me, that would weed out people that just really honestly want to be courted, like somebody that John had mentioned who shall remain nameless.
Is it fair to the applicants to go through, I guess?
Sure.
I don't know, I mean, it would
you did.
demonstrate, it would.
Oh, I didn't go through a public interview. No, I just came to.
Well, you
did a public
did a
comment.
presentation to the public and the board.
Did you do a
No,
public
All
comment?
4 of you
No?
did.
No, we met, they never had a quorum present. They purposely made sure they did not have a quorum.
Well, what meeting was that, where all 4?
I remember this
made a
meeting
presentation?
where.
Oh, that was the selection night.
Yeah.
That was the night of selection.
But you said some had already
They had,
withdrawn.
at that night, they
Yeah,
all.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
So they withdrew, but they still did a public.
Very tough
presentation?
decision for that board that
Yeah.
night.
No, I
Very
know
tough.
that, but I'm just saying, that just seemed odd. They would do presentations if they didn't want to.
So what do we want to do here? Does that sound like
Well-
keep moving with the cutoff to say by the end of next week, we'll stop taking applications, we'll start the interviews, and being a potential to make a recommendation to the board?
Well, if we have only 3, right, they all, I mean, a recommendation, would they all all 3 come and talk to all of us, or are we just, or one?
How do you want to do it?
I wanna
Or we
talk
could,
to them.
we
I
could
do,
be a little
I want my
simpler
input,
and
yeah, I'm interested in this.
Well,
share.
Natalie, do you want to try to figure out how to schedule that, or what do you think?
How to schedule the interviews?
Yeah, that's gonna be, so we're gonna have to get everybody together and so we're gonna bring them through one at a time, or all at the same time? How do you want to do that?
I thought we could maybe have a special meeting and, and
I
just
think it
interview.
demonstrates real interest on the part of these people, or do they just want to be,
So will we sit here and have them come up one at a time and interview?
Sure.
Is that how you do it?
With public too, because
Well,
we're
we
trying to
did
be
that
very
with Natalie.
transparent.
someone that went through this round.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have to notify the applicants once they're all in, that
Right.
there'll be a date where they'll be required to come, and hopefully they can meet that if it's the middle of the day and they have a job, but, we'll have to figure out how to do that.
We've gotten good at scheduling special meetings.
Do you think we could do the fire board thing too, or the fire
I
department
think
over
that's
the
a lot,
North
I
Shore?
think that's a lot.
That's too much?
Yeah, I think it's too much.
All right.
Yep.
And I don't know that it would need to be a full interview process like we use for our manager and zoning administrator. We have, the information on the applicants. We could meet with them privately, have conversations with them privately. It could be more of, an abbreviated, interview, if it's not abbreviated, but not quite as extensive, I guess.
But I would encourage us to share with the applicants our individual phone numbers or vice versa, so that if they want to have a one-on-one conversation or a cup of coffee, why not?
Okay. That
Again,
sounds good.
it's not 20 people.
Right.
That would be.
Okay, so we're
We're gonna try to schedule a meeting where they all get interviewed by us, especially when we interview them. And that'll be announced, but we'll have to check with them, check on availability, make sure they can make it, especially if it's during the day, and that type of thing. So,
Okay.
I have nothing to report. Abby?
I have 2 items to report on for the open board report. It has been brought to this board's attention at public comment and through social media about publishing the synopsis of board meeting minutes. For some, lack of transparency imposes problems for those without internet access. I want to take some time to provide some information around this issue and to address it fully. There were 6 meetings, board meetings from November 7 to December 19, a lot, and minutes for those meetings were taken by multiple different recording secretaries. I chose that time span to measure as it was post-election and the only minutes that have been board approved thus far. The average length of those meetings was approximately 2.83 pages. I then submitted the minutes from December 5, which came in at just less than 3 pages. And then the synopsis of the minutes from December 5 to Scott Sullivan with the commercial record, and he advised the following. I have an email from Scott. Scott, you're popular. Full meeting minutes would fill a 6-column by 9.5 vertical inch space. So 57 column inches times 5 per inch is $285. Synopsized, is that a word?
Synopsis, I think it is.
Okay.
You do the math.
Minutes would fill a 2 by 5 inch space, so 10 columns times $5 equals $50. So if you kind of extend that out, $285 per month if it was 3 pages, which they've been averaging very close to that, would be for 12 months, $3,420. If you do the synopsis, which would be approximately $50 a month times 12 months, that'd be $600 for a year, with a potential cost savings of $2,820. Additionally, that does not account for special meetings, only for 12 regular meetings per year, so that cost savings could be much greater than $2,820 per year. Just to be clear, the synopsis includes any motions and resolutions that were passed, and it directs readers to view full minutes on the township website. Further, minutes can be mailed to those without internet upon request. I appreciate the open dialogue around this issue and encourage those with concerns to continue to bring them to the board. My intent was just to educate and put that issue to, give a little bit more information on the thought process behind publishing synopsized minutes versus the full board minutes.
I love your minutes, by the way. I have to say they're just so thorough, and you're doing a fantastic job.
There's a cost, and and benefit. And some people do more abbreviated for reasons. Some people do more, and I'm sure there's more for me to learn, and I'm looking forward to taking the clerk's training on anything related to that. But thanks, Stacy.
I think, just encourage people who might not have the benefit of technology, we'll print them a copy and mail it to them, or
Right.
they can come and pick it up. Whatever we can do, we'll accommodate those, but a lot of people have access now to the means.
There are some in the township that don't, and we know that that's an issue, but.
I would like to suggest that if we move forward doing the synopsis, that we start adding a line that we're now taping all our meetings, and they're all accessible either through the website or on the YouTube channels. I think we should be making a noise.
They are up and running. I mean, they are going to be up and running, right?
Yeah.
They are.
They are?
No, they're not on
Okay.
YouTube.
That might
I'm
happen.
learning. I'm having
Oh, okay. All
a
right.
learning session tomorrow.
Oh,
The second issue that I wanted to address was the secure and safe Elliott Sturm. I just wanted to give some information around the board's process around that. A lot of it will probably just be